They called themselves apex predators, hunters who wiped out entire species before they learned how to scream. So when they captured a single human, they laughed. They took her weapons, counted her ammo, left her with 10 rounds and a knife. Enough to make the hunt interesting, not enough to make it fair. They expected panic, begging, a short, bloody chase to entertain their young. What they didn't expect was the way the human checked the magazine, slow, calm, or how she weighed the knife in her hand like an old memory. They didn't know what those 10 rounds were really for. They didn't know what humans become when survival is no longer optional. By the time the jungle went quiet, the predators would understand something too late. Humanity was never prey. The restraints dissolved with a hiss, melting back into the dirt like living things retreating underground. She didn't move right away. The jungle breathed around her, thick, wet, alive. Leaves taller than buildings blocked out the sky, their veins glowing faintly blue with bioluminescent sap. Somewhere in the distance, something massive roared, not in anger, but in excitement. The hunt had begun. A hovering drone drifted closer, its single red lens locking onto her face. From it came the translator's cold, amused voice. Human subject designated specimen 7. Rules of engagement are simple. You may run. You may hide. You may fight. A pause. Then laughter, layered, alien, echoing. You have been granted 10 rounds of ballistic ammunition and 1 primitive blade. Survival time is projected at 3 minutes. The drone floated backward, vanishing into the canopy. Silence followed. Heavy, expectant. She exhaled slowly. Her name was Mara Vance. Former recon. Former search and destroy. Former everything that required paperwork. Out here, none of that mattered. Only weight, distance, time. She checked the pistol. 10 rounds, exactly as promised. Clean, well-maintained. They wanted her to last long enough to be entertaining. The knife was worse, ceramic edge, serrated spine, balanced perfectly. Not a gift, a joke. Proof they thought her desperate enough to rush something bigger than herself. Mara slid the knife into her boot and holstered the pistol low on her thigh. Her movements were economical, practiced. No guastimotion, no panique. That alone would have unsettled the watchers. She stood, rolling her shoulders once, feeling the pull of gravity, the humidity clinging to her skin. The air smelled metallic, sharp, predator musk layered over rot and flowers. This was their world, their rules. Fine. She stepped off the clearing path and into the undergrowth, moving diagonally, breaking the obvious trail. Leaves brushed her arms. Insects scattered. Every sound felt amplified. Above her, unseen platforms tracked her heat signature. The apex predators, towering, scaled things with too many eyes and bone-plated limbs, watched from their perches. She is walking, one observed amused. Is the human confused? Perhaps their species does not understand pursuit. Then the kill will be swift. Mara reached a cluster of thick-rooted trees and stopped. She knelt, pressing her palm to the soil. Damp, soft, recently disturbed. Good. She snapped a branch, wedged it between 2 roots, and layered leaves over it. Crude, fussed, not meant to kill, only to speak. She moved again, circling back toward the clearing, then doubled away sharply, changing elevation. Her breathing stayed even, measured in counts of 4. That's when she felt it. The pressure. Something enormous shifting its weight nearby. A presence so dense the jungle itself seemed to lean away. A shadow crossed the ground. Mara froze. The first hunter dropped from the canopy without a sound. 8 feet of muscle and chitin, mandibles clicking softly in anticipation. Its eyes glowed amber as it inhaled, tasting her fear. It found none. Prey located, it growled into the calms. Engaging. It lunged. Mara fired once. The shot echoed like thunder in the jungle. The round punched through the creature's knee joint, shattering bone plate and ligament. It crashed forward, roaring, not in pain but in shock. The predators watching went silent. She aimed for mobility, one muttered. Why? Mara didn't answer. She was already moving. She sprinted, not away, but past it, sliding beneath its flailing limbs. As she passed, she slashed once, clean and precise, severing a tendon behind the other knee. The hunter collapsed fully now, massive body shaking the ground. She disappeared into the foliage before it could even turn. Above, the comms erupted. She did not finish it. Why would prey leave a wounded predator alive? The answer came seconds later when the second hunter followed the first trail. It hit the snap branch. The crack was sharp, loud. Its weight shifted instinctively, exactly wrong. The ground gave way just enough for its balance to falter. One shot. Hip joint. Disabled. Another roar. Another fallen giant. Mara crouched in the shadows, counting silently. 8 rounds left. Her heart was steady. Her mind colder than the pistol grip in her hand. She wasn't running. She was shaping the hunt. And somewhere high above the jungle floor, for the first time in centuries, the apex predators felt something unfamiliar crawl into their chests. Unease. The jungle changed its voice. Where before there had been scattered roars and mocking clicks over the comms, now there was coordination. Movement at multiple elevations. The canopy whispered as bodies repositioned, claws finding bark, tails coiling for balance. They were learning. Mara felt it in the way the air tightened, the way the birds went silent all at once. Apex predators didn't panic, but they adapted quickly when dominance was challenged. She welcomed that. She moved uphill toward thicker terrain, where the roots rose like ribs from the soil and the undergrowth choked lines of sight. Her boots barely touched the ground. Each step was chosen, remembered, erased. A soft chime echoed in her ear. The drone had returned, hovering somewhere unseen. Human, the translator said, its tone no longer amused. 2 of our hunters are incapacitated. This exceeds projections. Mara didn't respond. You are expending ammunition inefficiently. Your survival odds decrease with each engagement. Still nothing. A pause. Then, quieter. Why do you not flee? She stopped behind a massive fallen trunk, its interior hollowed by insects and rot. Slowly, she ejected the magazine, checked the rounds by touch, slid it back in. 7. She whispered, barely audible. Because you're already chasing the wrong thing. The drone's lens flared brighter, trying to triangulate the sound, but she was already gone. The next hunter didn't rush in blindly. This one circled wide, moving low, using scent rather than sight. Its eyes were smaller, darker, smarter. A tracker cast. It found the wounded first hunter still roaring in rage, thrashing against its useless limbs. The tracker paused. Confusion rippled through the pack mind. Wounded prey was common. Wounded hunter was unheard of. That hesitation cost it. Mara fired from elevation, the round punching through the tracker's shoulder joint mid-stride. It spun, shrieked, and leapt for cover, but her second shot came before it landed. Neck. Clean. 5 rounds left. She didn't stay to admire the kill. She slid down the far side of the ridge, disappearing into a ravine choked with mist and glowing moss. The humidity spiked here, interfering with thermal tracking. She pressed her back to stone and waited. Above her, the predators argued. This is no prey animal. It bleeds. It runs. It hides. Yes, but it chooses when. A heavy thump shook the ravine. Something large dropped in. Mara didn't move. She slowed her breathing until it matched the jungle's rhythm. The knife was in her hand now, blade reversed, edge along her forearm. The hunter prowled closer, nostrils flaring. It was massive, older, scarred, bone plates thickened by decades of kills. An alpha. Human. It rumbled aloud, not through comms. Its voice vibrated the stone. You wound my kin. You disgrace the hunt. Mara's eyes stayed fixed on its feet. Face me. She stepped out of the mist. Small. Fragile. Human. The alpha laughed, a grinding sound like rocks crushing bone. You stand before me with a blade? She raised the pistol and fired. The round hit its chest plate and flattened, useless. The alpha roared in triumph and charged. Mara dropped the pistol and ran toward it. At the last second, she slid beneath its bulk, blade flashing up into the softer seam beneath its jaw. She drove the knife deep and ripped sideways as she rolled free. The Alpha crashed into the ravine wall, claws gouging stone. It turned, staggering, ichor pouring from its throat. Mara retrieved the pistol calmly, wiping the blade on her sleeve. "One round," she said softly. She fired into its eye. The body hit the ground like a fallen tower. 4 rounds left. Silence spread outward, thick and absolute. The comms crackled back to life, voices layered with disbelief. She killed an Alpha with a knife. This is no longer a hunt. Mara leaned against the stone, finally allowing herself a single, sharp breath. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the effort of restraint. The instinct to finish them all clawed at her spine. She pushed it down. Not yet. Above her, the drones pulled back. The predators regrouped, spreading wider, slower now. Careful. Fear had entered the system. Mara smiled without humor. Good. Fear made mistakes. And she still had 4 rounds to teach them how many mistakes a human could afford to make. The predators stopped speaking. No taunts. No laughter. No commentary drifting through the calms. The jungle returned to its natural sounds. Whined through leaves, distant insect calls, but underneath it all was a tension so sharp it felt audible. They were hunting in silence now. Mara moved low along the ravine's edge, following water downhill. Streams meant noise, sent confusion, and predictable terrain. Predictable meant exploitable. Her forearm ached where the Alpha's bone plate had clipped her on the pass. Blood seeped through the tear in her sleeve, dark against her skin. She tied it off with a strip of fabric without slowing. 3 rounds left. She paused at the water's edge and listened. Footfalls. Soft. Spread wide. A net. She slipped into the stream and waded upstream for several meters, then climbed out onto a rock shelf and doubled back along dry ground. Old tricks. Human tricks. Ones that had broken smarter enemies than these. Above, one of the predators finally broke the silence. This is inefficient, it clicked. We lose too many. Another answered, voice low. Then adapt. Use numbers. Use pressure. Mara found what she was looking for. A natural choke point where the jungle narrowed between 2 massive stone pillars. The ground here sloped inward, funneling movement. Perfect. She began to work. Not traps. Messages. She dragged a wounded hunter's discarded armor plate into partial view, smeared with its own blood. She snapped branches deliberately this time. Let them hear. Let them think she was careless now. Tired. The first hunter took the bait. It rushed in from the left, fast and low. Mara waited until she saw the whites of its eyes. She fired once. The round took it through the mouth and out the back of its skull. It collapsed mid-stride, skidding to a stop at her feet. 2 rounds left. The second came from above, dropping from the pillar with a scream of rage. Mara didn't shoot. She stepped forward and let it overshoot her, then drove the knife into the base of its spine as it landed. The blade stuck. She let go, rolling clear as it spasmed and fell silent. 1 round left. The jungle held its breath. She stood in the open now, bloodied, exhausted, knife gone, pistol heavy in her hand. She knew they were watching. She could feel their eyes, their calculations. The drone returned, hovering closer than before. Human, the translator said, its voice strained. You have exceeded all survival models. The hunt may be concluded. Mara looked up at it. Concluded how? A pause. By surrender. She laughed. It surprised her how raw it sounded. You don't surrender in a hunt. This was not meant to become a war. Mara raised the pistol, not aiming at the drone, but at the tree lean behind it. That's your mistake. Something massive moved. The last predators emerged together. 5 of them, spreading out, weapons grown from their own bodies gleaming in the biolight. They moved slowly now, cautiously, not charging. They had learned respect. Too late. Mara backed into the choke point, positioning herself exactly where she wanted them. Her legs trembled. Her vision tunneled. She felt every bruise, every cut. She didn't care. The largest predator stepped forward. Its voice carried without qualms. You are out of ammunition. Mara met its gaze. 1 round, she said. That's all I ever needed. She fired. The bullet didn't go for flesh. It hit the stone pillar. The impact triggered the fractures she'd been widening with earlier shots, earlier movements. The rock screamed as it gave way, tons of stone collapsing inward. The jungle exploded in noise. 2 predators were crushed instantly. Another lost an arm, screaming as it tried to crawl free. The others scattered, howling in panic. Mara was thrown backward by the shockwave, slamming into the ravine wall. The pistol skidded from her hand. She didn't reach for it. She reached for a rock and pushed herself upright, staggering. Above the chaos, the drone hovered, its lens flickering. This outcome was not predicted. Mara wiped blood from her mouth. "Humans don't fight for odds," she said. "We fight for outcomes." The remaining predators withdrew, dragging their wounded, disappearing into the jungle without another word. The silence that followed was different. Not expectant, defeated. Mara sank to one knee, finally allowing her body to feel the weight of it all. She was alive. Barely. She looked up at the drone. "Call it," she said. "Tell them." The drone hesitated. "Tell them what?" Her eyes were hard, unafraid, that they should never hunt us again. The drone slowly pulled back, retreating into the canopy. And deep within the jungle, the apex predators of 1,000 conquered worlds learned a truth that would spread faster than any scream. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they refused to lose. Night fell fast on the jungle. Not a gentle dusk, but a sudden suffocation of light, as if the world itself wanted to hide what had happened. The bioluminescent veins in the leaves dimmed, responding to the predator's retreat. Even the insects went quiet. Mara dragged herself into the shadow of the ravine wall and sat there, back pressed to stone, breathing shallow and controlled. Every inhale burned. Every exhale tasted like iron. She inventoried herself the way she'd been trained to. One fractured rib, deep lacerations, blood loss, moderate but climbing, a concussion she refused to acknowledge. Alive. That was enough. Above her, the sky rippled. A ship uncloaked, vast, angular, unmistakably alien. The execution barge. The thing they used to collect trophies when the hunt ended. Except this time, it didn't descend. It hovered at a distance. The drone returned one last time, slower now, cautious, as if approaching something that might still bite. "Human Mara Vance," the translator said. No mockery remained. "The hunt is formally terminated." Mara didn't look up. "You already said that." This time, it continued. The decision was not unanimous. That got her attention. She raised her head, eyes narrowing. "Meaning, some of the clay believe you should be eliminated." Quietly. "From orbit." Mara smiled faintly. "Of course they do. But the elders have overruled them." The drone adjusted its position, lowering slightly, a gesture that, in their culture, meant deference. "You have altered precedent." Mara pushed herself to her feet, swaying but upright. "Good. For 10,000 cycles," the drone continued, "our species has hunted sentience to confirm dominance. Your performance has invalidated the ritual. Then stop doing it." A long pause followed. "Word of this hunt will spread," the drone said. "Other clades will hear. Other species will ask why the apex predators now hesitate." Mara met the lens directly. "Tell them the truth. That a single human survived? That a single human won?" Silence. Then, softly, "What are humans?" Mara considered the question. Thought of Earth. Of burned cities and rebuilt ones. Of wars that never truly ended. Of children learning history written in blood and still choosing to stand up. She answered simply. "With a species that keeps getting back up." The drone pulled away, retreating toward the ship. Tractor beams reached down, not to seize her, but to deliver a small drop capsule that slammed into the clearing nearby. Medical supplies. Rations. A locator beacon. They were letting her go. The ship vanished into the sky without another word. Mara stood alone in the jungle, night pressing in from all sides. She activated the beacon and collapsed beside it, finally letting darkness take her. Weeks later, the story spread. Not as a warning, as a whisper. In predator dens and war councils, in smugglers' ports and neutral stations, The tale changed with every telling, but the core remained the same. A human. 10 rounds. A knife. An entire hunting clade broken. Maps were updated. Human space was reclassified. Not hostile. Untouchable. Some predators laughed it off. Claimed the story was exaggerated. Myth. Others remembered the screams that had cut off mid-roar. The way the jungle had gone silent. The way fear, real fear, had taken hold. And they chose differently. On a quiet medical station at the edge of human territory, Mara Vance woke to white lights and the steady beep of machines. Her body was wrapped in synth bandages, her veins flooded with healing agents. A human officer sat beside her bed, eyes wide with something between awe and disbelief. "They're calling you the ghost of the hunt," he said. "You know that." Mara closed her eyes. "I didn't do it for a name." "I know," he said quietly. "You did it so they'd stop." She opened her eyes again, meeting his gaze. "Did they?" He nodded. "So far?" "Yes." She let out a slow breath and stared up at the ceiling. Somewhere out there, predators were rethinking centuries of certainty. Somewhere, a galaxy was adjusting its understanding of what it meant to corner a human. Mara smiled, small and tired. "Good. Let them remember this part. Not the bullets. Not the knife. But the moment they realized humanity was never feared for how it hunted. It was feared for what happened when it was hunted instead."